You may be great at what you do and delivering a great client experience, but if you're not growing at the pace you want to grow, it's frustrating, right? And every single person, no matter what season you're in, the name of the game is growing and scaling. And what that looks like for you in this season may be different to your business friends, but at the end of the day, it's all about growth. Maybe that looks like streaming your processes in this season and just maintaining current load so that in future you can scale more. Maybe it is that you want to grow a lot of clients right now. Whatever the season that you're in, I believe that in order to grow effectively, you've got to use the right marketing strategy. And what I see a lot of is people only using long-term marketing strategies. So they're feeling frustrated in the moment because they're not having the kinds of marketing that's going to get them fast results. So in this video, I want to break down exactly what marketing strategies you should be using, what I've used in the past, and the combination of both to be able to get an effective marketing strategy right now for your service-based business. But before we dive any further, I wanted to introduce myself. I am Hannah, the founder of With Hannah & Co, and I help service-based business owners sell, streamline, and scale their services. So if that sounds like something that you are interested in, then definitely subscribe to this channel because I'm bringing out new videos every single week. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to break down 3 steps. The first step is you've got to understand where your audience is at and where you're at in business. Now, often we see those big business owners, that are scaling, that they're on every single marketing channel possible and are crushing it. They have consistent content. It looks amazing. But the reality is they have a team behind the scenes doing pretty much all of that content and marketing for them. So you've got to look at right now in this season, do you have anyone on your team to support you? Do you have cash flow right now? Because all of those questions are going to determine the best marketing strategy for you in this season. The other part you've got to consider is where your audience is at. So for example, if you had 10,000 super engaged followers on your Instagram, and let's say one of your friends only has 100 followers on Instagram, right? Well, that may be you. There's nothing right or wrong with either of those, but obviously the marketing strategy is going to be very different because the one with 10,000 Instagram is going to be a shorter term strategy for them because their audience is already there and already engaged. So you've got to think about short term and long term marketing strategies relevant to the audience size of where you are marketing to. So I do want you to kind of take off this pressure around, different marketing strategies that are promoted out there, because a lot of the time it's like, use this Instagram strategy and you'll see success, but they saw success because they had an engaged audience there. Then looking at what platforms actually excite you and bring you a lot of joy for your current season, right? And that actually makes sense to your business and what you're offering. And then the third part to it is having a look at, okay, now that you've clarified that, what team do you have around you? What resources do you have around you to support you in doing this? Now, if you are at the very start of your business, what I recommend is having 2 short-term strategies and crushing those for the first few months. Because at the end of the day, if you're just starting your business, there is no point spending ages and ages growing long-term strategies. You want to get clients, get cash flow. From there, you're then able to add in some longer term ones. If you have some clients and you're kind of scaling and growing, what I would recommend is having 1 short-term strategy and 1 long-term strategy, and using those, in conjunction with each other, so that as you're scaling, you've got that shorter term there to really boost sales and help you. But then you've also got a longer term strategy for that more sustainable strategy. Longer term as you're serving and growing your audience and nurturing them, you're able to have that, so that then as you scale and you have a team, you can then add in short-term strategies and more longer-term strategies because you have the bandwidth, you have the capacity. But what I don't suggest doing is trying all the things all at once, because that's just going to be overwhelming. And that saying where it says, don't put all your eggs in one basket, 100% I believe in that, and I understand the theory behind that and why you don't want to just rely on one platform to get you clients. But at the same time, you don't want to be carrying around 10 different baskets, right? 10 different marketing strategies, and trying to, craft strategy relevant to that platform that you're using. So you want to be wise about your time. And over my business, I'm going to share more about that later in this video, but I have changed depending on the season, and usually once I go all in with a marketing strategy, streamline that, scale that, have that working really well in the background, potentially outsource it to a team member, I'm then able to add in another strategy to support that and build that. But it's because I'm not overwhelmed trying to learn and trying to streamline 2 different marketing strategies at once, right? Like that's just overwhelming. So you want to go all in, scale that, make that great, and then bring in another one. So let's now dive into what are these short-term and long-term strategies. So I'm going to list a few out, but I want you to keep in mind again that some of these are going to be either short-term or long-term depending on what your current audience size is, because that's just what I have found. So for the short-term strategies, in my opinion, the best short-term strategy is pitching. And I know this gets a bad rap, especially cold pitching in the industry, but it is how I was able to get incredible clients for, something that I send out, in a day I could send out 20 pitches and maybe get 1 or 2 clients from that. Well, that's a day's work of getting direct to my ideal client. So pitching is a great way to get ideal clients. The second way is referrals. So this is through, strategic partnerships. For example, let's say you're a copywriter, and, you want to tap into a partnership with a website designer. So anytime someone comes to get their website designed, well, you're a referral partner for them, so that if their client needs copy, well, you're the first person they go to. Another thing that you could do is also tapping into people who are fully booked. So let's say you're a Pinterest manager and you know of another Pinterest manager who is fully booked right now. You could reach out to them and say, hey, just to let you know, in this meantime, I noticed you're fully booked. If you have clients coming over the next week that are, over the next month, say, who, don't want to wait on your waiting list, I do have this service. You would get X amount as a referral partner, etc. Also can be for current clients. So what I would often do is with the first few clients that I had, I would hammer my referral program, right? I would put it in their welcome email. I would let them know about it periodically. And because I have a monthly retainer service, I'm able to reach out to them, say every quarter, and just say, hey, just as a reminder, I have this referral program. If there's someone that you have in mind that would be a good fit, I would love to work with more clients like yourself. So, here are the details of the payout of my referral program, because it has to be convincing and exciting for them in terms of a payout. So pitching, referrals, they're the 2 main ones I see as short-term marketing strategies. The other ones are things like email, like an email list, Instagram DM, going on an Instagram live with someone else, like those kind of things. But with that, like Instagram, Facebook, so those kind of ones, they can be great. But again, it's only if you have an audience size there. So if you have an engaged audience on those platforms, it's a short-term marketing strategy for you. Because let's say you put up an Instagram story promoting your services, if you're able to get some DMs of people saying they're interested and you're able to book them from there, that's a short-term strategy. But if you are building an audience and growing that platform from the very beginning, then it's going to be more of a longer term strategy. So those are the top short term strategies. So now looking into long term strategies, obviously there's a lot, but the main ones I see is things like Instagram, Facebook, all the social channels if you don't have much of an audience there. Also, SEO blogging. Pinterest, podcasting, YouTube, all of those ones are more longer term strategies because you're building up content in there, growing that over time so that yes, someone may come across it randomly on your first ever blog, awesome, but it is more of that longer term gain to get those clients, nurture them in that funnel, and then book them into a client. So those are the differences between the short term and the long term strategies. So what this looked like in my business is I always had 2 to 3 marketing streams. And I found that was my sweet spot because it was enough to, have variety, not just be relying on one strategy, but it was not too much that it was overwhelming and I couldn't actually fulfill on anything, right? So in the very start of my business, I had pitching and referrals. They were my 2 marketing channels that I used and was able to get to about 10 to 15 clients with just those marketing strategies. And yes, I was doing things on Instagram, but it was not a strategic focus, right? It was just kind of posting for fun or posting about clients or something like that. From there, once that became really streamlined and I was happy with those things that were integrated in, I then added Instagram. So for a long, probably I would say 6 to 1 year, they were my 3 channels: pitching, referrals, and Instagram. And that's what I used. I then shifted my business slightly and bought in some education products of courses, that kind of thing. Added in more of an affiliate kind of strategic partnerships. So I would, connect with different business owners and we do either a joint webinar together or they would promote their to their email list, something like that as they were growing. So I added that in and I took away pitching for the meantime as I was focused on scaling those kind of longer term ones, because again, I didn't really need those short term ones because I was pretty much fully booked with clients. So I didn't need to so much worry about the short term. I could focus more on the long term. Then over time, that changed. I added in a podcast. So I switched out some things and I added on a team to be able to allow me to do more. Now in my business, what this looks like is I have YouTube and email as my longer term strategies. And I also have like referrals, affiliates, because they're pretty much the same thing, referrals, affiliates, and I have brought back in pitching because I think it's a great way to do it. So those are kind of the 4 ones that I have at the moment, but I'm able to do that because I have some team members helping me stay consistent, creating content, putting content calendars together. I have a YouTube editor. So things like that allow me to have more time to add in more. But if you don't have a team, then I recommend 2 to 3 marketing streams max. And then again, over time, you can tweak and change and add things in. Now, there was a season of my business where I had about 5 to 6 streams. And yes, I did have a team as well, but it was overwhelming because it was confusing me as I was creating the content. And also, I don't think I had streamlined all of those systems very well so that my team wasn't, operating as well as it could be. So as a result of that, it became overwhelming. I wasn't able to do as great a job. So I had to then go back to the beginning, start again and go, okay, what are these 2 to 3 streams I'm going to really focus on right now? Go all in with them. Then I can bring back and add more. So sometimes it looks like scaling back and reining back in order to scale up. And oftentimes, when we're more intentional about those ones that we're doing, that's going to be great. But that's why I wanted to create this video, because I think a lot of the time people focus too much on longer term strategies that it's not actually going to get them a client as quickly as it could. So depending on the season that you're at, I would love for you to let me know in the comments below, what are your 2 to 3 marketing streams in this season? Cannot wait to hear what yours are and what you want to focus on in this season. And I highly recommend having a look at my latest video from last week, all about understanding where in your marketing and sales actually needs improvement so that you can grow your business further, and how I was able to book, a certain amount of clients in a certain month. But I hope that you have a great rest of your week.